I finally got a chance to play Slay the Princess, and it was a special experience. And if you never heard of or played it before, basically you play as a feathery birdman creature thing who has been tasked by the narrator to kill a princess who's capable of destroying the world. If you love a story driven visual novel where your choices can either lead to beauty or horror, usually horror, then this game is a must play. It's absolutely amazing. In my entire life of playing video games, I have never played a video game that made me feel a variety of different emotions. Usually, I'm emotionally detached from the games I'm playing, mostly because they never feel real to me. But Slay the Princess breaks that emotional barrier, and somehow it does feel real. To the point that I'm actually feeling sadness, regret, and happiness from the choices I made. And that's mostly due to the amazing voice acting in the game. The voice acting brings the character to life and make them feel real. Real to the point that I'm actually find myself making choices just to spite a character. Only for me to regret it later, but at least I got a chance to be petty for a while. The tone, the emphasis in their voices make it feel like I'm truly conversing with another person. I can feel the hatred, the desperation, the joy in their voices, making me want to connect with the characters. For example, there was one route where I decided to not slay the princess and instead to befriend the princess, only for the narrator to force me to stab her in the back. She reacts to my attacks and violently kills me. I can feel the anger and frustration in her voice as she screams at me for backstabbing her and betraying her trust. I die and the world resets. I meet the princess again inside of a cave. Here, she is depicted as a cat lady who speaks to me with a deceptive tone. She makes me feel uneasy as she smiles and looks at me. It feels like she's constantly plotting something against me. I felt terrible about betraying her last time, even if it was against my will. So, to make amends, I threw her the knife. And she happily picks it up and kills me with it. At first, she was thrilled. She killed someone who betrayed her, someone who she held a grudge against. Then her excitement faded, turning into remorse and confusion, as she realized she killed someone who was only trying to help her. I die and the world resets again. In the final world, I meet the princess again. She's covered in a vine of thorns, still holding onto the knife I gave her. Her voice this time sounds tired, sad, and vulnerable. She sits conflicted about our past experience of betrayal. I hurt her and she hurt me, and she's unsure of what will happen next. I made an offer to make amends for our past by taking a blade and cutting her free from the thorns. She reluctantly handed the knife over to me, afraid of what I would do next. I kept my word and set her free. And that was one of the many storylines Slay the Princess had to offer. The choices I made to unlock this storyline were driven by how immersive the voice acting was. In all three arcs, I felt the weight and the emotions behind the princess's words. They play into my emotions, compelling me to make the choices I made. Oh, and let's talk about the princess a bit more. She's a very complex character who is fascinating to interact with. She is an amazing walking contradiction of a character. On one hand, she's independent from me. She has her own personalities and agency, and she makes her own choices as I make mine. While on the other end, who or what she becomes is completely dependent on the choices I make as the story progresses. The princess is like clay for me to mold, but instead of me finishing her, she finished herself off. She adds the textures, the finishing touches, and shape herself based on what choices I made during our prior confrontation. Because of this, I have different interpretations and feelings for this character. She makes me want to care for her when she's at her lowest and most desperate. She makes me want to hate her when she's at her highest and most condescending. And the best part about this that I love the most, all the different faces of the princesses are just the consequences of my choices staring back at me. Oh, and speaking about choices, the variety and quality of choices in this game are just magnificent. A lot of the choices in this game just feel natural. It's like the game reads my mind and gives me options that I would want to make in a given situation. The choice options I get make me feel both significant and insignificant. Insignificance. Now that's not usually a word or feeling that you would usually used to describe a story-based video game like this, where player choice is expected to impact the game. At times, the game can easily take away any control you have and force you to make decisions that you really don't want to make. One such example of this is something I mentioned earlier, where I chose to befriend the princess. The narrator took control, taking away any of my agency, and forced me to stab the princess in the back. Any choices I wanted to make were grayed out and no longer an option. My agency is gone, leaving me to feel small and powerless, and the only thing I can do is await the consequences of the choice I didn't even want to make. And don't get me wrong, I'm not trying to frame this as a bad thing against the game. This is actually great for the game because it brings more immersion and depth to the game, because Slay the Princess is a horror game, and part of what makes horror is powerlessness and lack of agency. And Slay the Princess does that perfectly. By taking away my agency at certain points, I feel the weight of not having a say in the matter. I feel pretty lost and hopeless. Slay the Princess is a masterclass in emotional storytelling. It makes me feel the weight of every decision. It has did a wonderful job at breaking through to me and getting me to care about a fictional character by displaying her humanity while also putting mine into question. This video was never meant to be a review of the game. It was meant to be an appreciation letter for a well crafted game that I thoroughly enjoyed, and I'm very happy I got a chance to experience it.